He was a useless healer, treated like garbage by his own party. But after being left for gone, he's back in a younger body with a god-tier glitch called Full Auto. A group of top-tier bullies thought he was an easy target until he moved faster than the eye could see, breaking their pride and their bones in a single breath. Now, a desperate elf beauty is looking for a savior, and she's about to realize that joining this weakling is the only way to save her best friend. The name is the Genius Healer's Restart, and this is just the beginning. We open inside a lively tavern where two guys are gossiping about a recent town incident. Apparently, some monsters calling themselves demon soldiers went on a massive rampage 3 days ago, leaving 7 mages permanently silenced. The younger guy wonders if these soldiers are really that tough, and the older one confirms they're basically walking cheat codes with human intelligence and more magic power than an entire flock of dragons. When asked why these overpowered beasts are suddenly hunting mages, the older guy mentions a spicy rumor that they are searching for someone specific. But before he can drop the actual tea, they are completely interrupted. The interruption comes in the form of a loud complaint from a mage, who is currently accusing an older man of acting like a total creep. She demands he let go of her now that the healing is done, claiming his touch is making her skin crawl. Our boy, the healer, nervously apologizes and explains he had to take his time because her wound was a nasty cocktail of 2 different poisons. The party's thief girl chimes in, suggesting the mage is being entirely too harsh. The mage immediately accuses the thief of taking the old man's side, but the blonde swordsman steps in to shut the drama down. The mage complains that just looking at the healer's face is going to ruin her future drinks. And the blonde swordsman actually agrees. He tosses a few measly coins onto the ground, declaring the old man's job is done and it is time for him to leave. As the trio prepares to ditch him, the swordsman casually orders our boy to return at their usual time tomorrow. Our boy looks at the pathetic pile of coins and asks if that is his entire paycheck. The swordsman brutally informs him that since he spent the whole battle hiding in the shadows, he is nothing but a useless burden, and his pay perfectly reflects his 0 contribution. The terrible trio leaves our boy completely stranded outside the tavern, looking like a rejected puppy. Just to rub salt in the wound, 3 random passers-by suddenly start fanboying over the blonde swordsman, gushing about how his elite party is totally destined for greatness. Left all alone, our boy realizes he completely forgot about his own injuries and quickly casts a fairy heal spell on himself. He glares at the pitiful coin on the ground, picks it up, and seriously questions his entire life path. He briefly considers tossing his adventurer badge in the trash, but realizes his poverty logic makes that impossible. He has absolutely 0 savings, no backup skills, and figures becoming monster. Chow might actually be a solid career pivot at his age. Brushing off his absolute misery, he decides there is no point in crying over spilled milk, plasters on a smile, and decides to go drown his sorrows at a local bar. While strolling through the streets, our boy is suddenly swarmed by a sinister purple aura and feels a sharp pain in his gut. He grabs his stomach, pulls his hand away, and finds it completely covered in crimson. Before he can even process the sudden leakage, a voice from above playfully complains about missing the target. Up on a nearby roof stands a hooded figure radiating pure malice. Our boy feels a crushing wave of magic power pressing down on him. Realizing instantly this guy is incredibly dangerous and entirely off the charts, the hooded figure introduces himself as a demon soldier and a servant of the Demon King. He happily announces that he has finally found our healer and is here to politely end his run-on. His boss's direct orders. Without missing a beat, our boy dodges a vicious follow-up strike and rapidly casts an angel heal on himself to patch up the injury in his stomach. The demon soldier is genuinely impressed by his blazing fast casting speed, and our boy fires back a sarcastic thank you. The demon drops the playful act, threatening to stop holding back and finish the job quickly. Sweating profusely, our boy realizes the psycho is completely serious about turning him into a past. Tense, he demands to know why the literal demon king put a mark on a perpetually washed-up healer. The demon finds this absolutely hilarious. He bursts into laughter, mocking our boy for being completely clueless about his own worth. He reveals that our boy possesses a once-in-a-millennium skill, calling it a total tragedy that such a priceless treasure is going to waste. Our boy gets understandably angry and demands to know what the demon is talking about. But before he can get any actual answers, it suddenly lights out for him. Model. As his vision tilts, the demon casually explains that even though the kid's power is incomplete, leaving him be would eventually make him a massive threat. The demon offers a polite farewell and walks off. Despite having just lost his head, our boy is still miraculously clinging to a thread of consciousness. He glares at the retreating demon, furiously refusing to let his story end here. In his final, fading moments, his life flashes before his eyes. But it's just a terrible highlight reel of his awful party constantly using him as monster bait and laughing at his pain. He bitterly concludes his entire life was complete and utter garbage. But just as the darkness takes him completely, the scene shifts to a bright sunrise. Our boy suddenly snaps his eyes open. He looks down and realizes he's inexplicably much younger. It seems our healer just hit the ultimate restart button. The kid wakes up beneath a large tree, staring at his hands in pure bewilderment. He wonders if he somehow hit the cosmic undo button and returned to life, though his common sense tells him that surviving losing your head is highly unlikely. Crawling to a nearby patch of water, he peers into his reflection and is greeted by the face of a completely unfamiliar young man. Before he can even process this new, high-definition face of his, 3 walking red flags approach. They radiate massive bully energy. The first one notes that he isn't gone after all, while the second cruelly points out he looked exactly like a goner just yesterday. The third chimes in, insisting it would have been perfectly fine if this useless piece of trash had simply stayed gone. Our boy's brain buffers for a moment, trying to figure out if these fine gentlemen are actual enemies or just terrible acquaintances. Before he can sort out the timeline, the middle bully barks at him to get up, calling him tier and demanding he hurry and get ready. So, these are his party members. What an absolute joy! The absolute mountain of ill will grabs our boy by the shirt, aggressively asking if he's listening. When our boy politely asks who they are, the bully assumes he was beaten so hard his memory got wiped, and gleefully offers to deliver a few more hits to jog it. Glancing at his new arms, our boy notices this fresh body is covered in a ridiculous amount of bruises. He realizes this poor kid, Tyr, was basically living the exact same miserable punch-and-bag existence he just escaped. Our boy concludes his soul has somehow hijacked Tyr's body, and right on cue, the bully delivers a solid punch straight to his gut. But instead of folding like a cheap lawn chair, our boy barely registers the hit. He looks the bully straight in the eye with zero panic, calmly noting that the guy's pathetic punch barely even tickled. The bully is immediately thrown off, stammering that this completely unfazed guy can't possibly be the Tyrion he knows. To make matters even more confusing for the 3 stooges, our boy casually casts a fairy heal on himself, glowing softly as his new wounds instantly vanish. The bully holding a magic staff practically drops his jaw, demanding to know when the useless Tyr learned high-level healing magic. Our boy smirks, happily informing them that he's definitely not the Tyr they used to kick around. The chubby ringleader's ego can't handle this level of backtalk. He screams at his buddies to stop holding back, promising to make our boy regret his new attitude for the rest of his life. As the trio gears up for a beatdown, a very serious look appears in our boy's eyes. He admits it's been a remarkably long time since he's felt this genuinely angry, deciding he owes this Tyrion a massive favor for the free body rental. He vows to teach these hooligans a painful lesson. Our boy launches forward and instantly plants the first bully's face straight into the dirt with flawless precision. He casually looks at the next guy and cheerfully announces, "You're up." The second bully throws a desperate punch, but our boy easily dodges and buries a fist deep into the guy's gut. As the second bully gasps for air, our boy playfully compliments his effort. The chubby ringleader is now sweating bullets, completely baffled as to how the useless party member turned into a martial arts master overnight. Our boy chuckles at the word useless, noting he's heard that exact insult way too many times in his previous life. The chubby bully charges in, blindly swinging a heavy mace, but our boy is completely unbothered. He calmly states that an F-rank adventurer is still an adventurer. And a lifetime of surviving pure hell grants some serious combat experience. He snatches the magic staff from the unconscious mage and swats the chubby bully square in the face with it, looking down at the groaning mess. He explains that swinging power around without a brain is just a toddler throwing a dangerous tantrum and mocks him for losing to a supposed F-rank, standing over his defeated bullies. Our boy briefly wonders if he sent those kids a little too far into next week, but looking at their unconscious forms, he hopes this at least clears up some of Tyrion's lingering resentment. He takes a moment to appreciate his new agile and healthy physique, completely confused as to why someone this gifted was treated so poorly. He also wonders how he can use his old healing magic in this new body, finally accepting that soul possession is a real, actual thing in this world. Flooded with endless questions about his next move, he spots a piece of paper on the ground. It is a status examination form belonging to Tyr, officially listing him as an F-rank swordsman. Realizing his new host was also an adventurer, our boy decides taking a fresh examination is the perfect next step. Sitting around thinking will not solve anything, and more importantly, he desperately needs to figure out what that menacing demon soldier meant about him possessing a once-in-a-millennium skill. The narration dives straight into how the adventurer status examination works. Basically, a special magic tool scans a person's body to calculate their strength, magic power, and stamina, spitting out an overall adventurer rank. This system dictates an adventurer's entire future, which is why some overachievers take the exam weekly to track every minor stat boost. Our boy, however, admits he has not taken one in years because his stats were practically fossilized and he figured checking them was a total waste of time. Cut to the guild reception, where our boy is handed his freshly printed status paper. He scans the document confirming his new body's name is indeed Tyr. He is officially an F-rank healer with absolutely tragic base stats, rocking FS in endurance and magic and a deeply embarrassing F- in spirit. On the bright side, his signature Fairy Heal and Angel Heal spell successfully transferred over. Unsurprisingly, his ultimate spell, Prayer to the Gods, is still locked behind an insufficient ability warning. Our boy wonders if his base stats belong to him or the original Tyr, but he brushes it off, hoping the skill section holds better news. Flipping to the second page, his jaw practically hits the floor. He actually has hidden skills. The first is a level 1 ability called Blood Zone, which boosts his critical and vital hit rates. Our boy realizes that since he spent his previous life furiously whacking monsters over the head with his healer's staff, he accidentally unlocked a physical attacker skill. But the real showstopper is his second skill, Full Auto. It comes packed with passive buffs for defense, attack, magic, power, reflexes, and even includes minor auto-healing. The description notes it automatically applies these buffs to the user and any recognized allies. Our boy's brain short-circuits as he wonders if this ridiculous cheat code is the once-in-a-millennium skill that had the demon soldier practically shaking in his boots. Since reading a piece of paper will only get him so far, he decides the only logical next step is to grab a quest and field test his new toys. But before he can make a move, a familiar wave of toxicity enters the building. It is his former party, featuring the blonde swordsman, the glasses-wearing maid, and the slightly less awful thief girl. the blonde violently complains that their missing old man is nowhere to be found, while the mage whines about him running away without saying goodbye. The thief nervously wonders where Sotel could be, worrying he might have collapsed somewhere. Our boy realizes he completely forgot about these walking red flags. The blonde marches over to the quest board, loudly declaring they are better off without that useless bum anyway. The mage entirely agrees, callously stating that even if their former healer vanished without a trace, it is absolutely not their problem. Suddenly, the blonde catches our boy staring. Instead of recognizing his former teammate, the swordsman aggressively asks the kid what he is looking at, snapping that they are not a sideshow. The mage tells the swordsman to ignore the brat, complaining that their old healer left them with a massive mess, and the terrible trio storms out. Our boy watches them leave and realizes something incredible. Between the 3 local bullies from earlier and his miserable former party, literally nobody recognizes him. Looking back down at his status paper, a massive wave of relief washes over him. For years, he sold his soul for pennies, bowing down to terrible people just to survive. Now occupying the youthful body of Tyrion, the Frank healer, he realizes he can permanently cancel his subscription to that miserable life and get a totally fresh start. Motivated by pure spite and newfound hope, he marches up to the board and snags an Frank quest to exterminate 30 wolves. Fast forward to the forest, where our boy is already treating the local wolf population like personal punching bags. He easily takes down the first beast, then verbally calls upon his blood zone skill to deliver a devastating final blow to a second wolf. He marvels at how incredibly convenient the skill is, mentally kicking himself for not taking status exams in his past life. Suddenly, he's enveloped in a bright green aura. A system notification pops up, announcing that Blood Zone has already leveled up to 2, drastically boosting his critical and vital hit rates. Feeling his power surge, our boy spots 3 more wolves charging his way. He flashes a dangerous smirk, happily declaring that it is finally time for the main event to test out his full auto skill. Our boy enthusiastically strikes a pose to unleash his shiny new full auto skill on the 3 approaching wolves, but absolutely nothing happens. Deeply confused by the severe lack of magical fireworks, he barely manages to dodge a lunging wolf before awkwardly playing whack-a-mole with his staff. He stares at his hands, desperately wondering why his ultimate cheat code is completely broken. Taking a mental step back, he rereads the fine print. The text clearly states the effects automatically target the user and recognized allies. Realizing this is a 24/7 passive buff and not a laser beam, he decides to run a highly questionable field test by literally feeding his bare fist to a charging wolf. The beast aggressively chomps down, but instead of turning our boy into a snack, the wolf completely shatters its own teeth against his knuckles. A familiar green aura instantly wraps around our hero, watching the wolf cry about its new dental bill. Our boy realizes his defense enhancement is practically unfair. The medium defense boost makes low-level attacks feel like a gentle breeze, and the minor auto-heal instantly erases any microscopic scratches. He's basically walking around with absolute damage immunity. Doing some rapid mental math, he realizes the automatic attack and magic boost make the overall benefits entirely off the charts. Plus, skills level up significantly faster once you actually know they exist and put them to work. He remembers the demon soldier calling him a wasted treasure, and the puzzle pieces finally click. That elite servant of the Demon King wasn't just targeting a washed-up healer for fun. He was sweating bullets over Full Auto's limitless potential. Our boy realizes if he grinds this ability, his power will scale endlessly, letting him cash in on all the dreams his miserable past life forced him to abandon, casually dismantling the remaining wolves like they are made of wet paper. A massive realization hits him. Full Auto didn't just randomly download today. It had been actively buffing him his entire life. He just never noticed because his garbage former party constantly used him as a meat shield for overpowered monsters, completely masking his enhanced stats. Now that he is finally fighting enemies in his own weight class, his body feels as light as a feather. He watches the wolves lunge in crispy, frame-by-frame, slow motion. He knows this massive physical upgrade is not just the perk of a younger body, but the compounded interest of soaking in those hidden buffs for years. Flashing a dangerously confident smirk, our boy vows to fully master this cheat code and completely cancel his previous bad luck, and treat this second life like an all-inclusive VIP vacation to officially seal the deal. His system window pops up one more time. Interestingly, it now correctly displays his original name, Sotel, right next to his familiar rank healer title. It highlights his hilariously tragic base stats and his currently locked god-tier prayer spell, but proudly flaunts his newly leveled blood zone and full auto skills, fully cementing the start of his entirely overpowered restart. Our guy waltzes back into town with a haul of monster bits so huge it needed its own map. He sheepishly admits he went a bit overboard. The mission was to handle 30 wolves, but the thrill of having incredible power was just too much fun. He accidentally cleared out 3 times that amount. Still, he figures being an overachiever is not exactly a crime. Back at the Adventurers Guild, a guy with the energy of someone who's spent way too much time watching alpha male influencer clips is aggressively flirting with Rosa, the receptionist. She clearly looks like she wants to completely cancel her subscription to this conversation. Just as the guy demands she stopped playing hard to get, she spots our boy and practically leaps at the chance to serve a new customer. Our boy dumps his literal mountain of wolf pelts onto the counter, awkwardly apologizing for the massive over-delivery. The background adventurers completely lose their minds, whispering about how the notoriously useless Terry Kid somehow pulled this off. The receptionist's face lights up with a massive blush. She enthusiastically congratulates him, predicting a rapid promotion to D rank or even C rank. Looking at her genuine smile, our boy experiences a state of pure joy where his eyeballs are, practically sweating with relief. In his past life, the only faces he ever saw were twisted in disgust, making this wholesome interaction an absolute breath of fresh air. Naturally, the wholesome moment is immediately ruined. The rejected alpha storms over, aggressively telling our boy to get out of his way. He sizes our hero up, calling him a total newbie who only brought in the massive haul to impress the receptionist. When our boy just stares back, totally drained by the sudden drama, the guy doubles down. He loudly accuses him of buying the materials, claiming a weak healer could never handle magic-resistant wolves. Our boy calmly holds up his wooden staff and politely explains that he literally just beat the wolves senseless with it. The flirt bursts into condescending laughter. He completely refuses to believe the story and flexes his arms, claiming they're twice the size of our boy's. Realizing you can't argue with a brick wall, our boy decides to ignore him completely. He gives a casual farewell and turns his back, figuring they'll never see each other again. This total dismissal shatters the guy's fragile ego, screaming about our boy acting way too cool. He throws a cowardly sucker punch right at our hero's back. Our boy doesn't even bother to dodge. The punch connects, but instead of causing damage, the guy's hand practically shatters into a painful, broken mess. While the guy howls in pain, our boy innocently remarks that he didn't even do anything. He realizes his full auto-defensive skills and reflection buffs have basically turned his body into solid titanium. The onlooking adventurers completely roast the guy for breaking his own fist on a rookie. Now, completely humiliated and practically foaming at the mouth, the flirt draws his sword and charges, screaming about unforgivable insults. Unfortunately for him, our boy is reading his moves like a large-print children's book. He easily predicts the high stance, the downward right slash, and the left swing, dodging every single strike with perfect precision. His mind and muscles are perfectly in sync. The crowd starts hyping our boy's effortless footwork, which only enrages the attacker more. The guy practically spits as he threatens to finish him. Our boy drops the innocent act entirely, staring back with dead serious eyes. He calmly notes those are incredibly heavy words for a young man to use, squaring up to deliver a highly educational counterattack. The angry alpha completely loses his temper, screaming about pests as he unleashes another frantic storm of slashes. Our boy effortlessly dodges every single one, deciding it's officially time to send this guy flying. He cheerfully notes that since they're both adventurers, there should be no hard feelings and casually plants his fist right in the guy's gut. To our boy's total shock, the flirt is launched backward like a swatted fly. Staring at his own fist, our hero realizes he barely even tapped the guy. A quick system check shows it wasn't just a new skill leveling up. His base stats and overall rank have actually jumped from an F rank to an E rank healer. Our boy casually strolls over to the groaning mess on the floor to politely check if he's still conscious. Utterly humiliated, the flirt aggressively scrambles to his feet and runs away, effectively ending his own welcome at the guild. Instantly, 3 veteran adventurers swarm our boy. They aggressively hype him up, laughing about how the arrogant flirt will never be able to show his face in here again. They enthusiastically pat him on the head while our boy awkwardly begs them to stop. The receptionist quickly rushes over to thank him, nervously apologizing for dragging him into her admirer's drama. Our boy smoothly reassures her it wasn't her fault, admitting he just genuinely didn't like the guy. This incredibly cool response leaves the receptionist totally flustered and practically swooning as she thanks him again. Later that night, our boy is strolling through the streets under a starlit sky, looking like he's posing for a motivational video thumbnail. He mentally reviews his insane day, surviving an ambush, waking up in a younger body, and immediately soloing a huge quest. Despite the chaos, he admits it was actually a ton of fun. In his past life, decades of grinding gave him 0 stat improvements, leaving him a washed-up failure who had given up. But this new body changes everything. He suddenly gets a massive urge to visit the city of Bularia. He remembers his last trip there 3 months ago with his toxic former party. It was a total disaster involving a monster den. And while the others ate mountains of meat, he was forced to eat sad vegetables. When the thief girl finally tossed him a scrap out of pity, it gave him terrible indigestion. But looking at his new, healthy physique, he confidently decides he can now eat as much meat as he wants. Brushing off the endless questions about his magical return, he decides the best approach is to just accept the upgrade and prepare for a road trip first thing tomorrow morning. He heads back to whatever rented tavern room his younger self was staying in. He immediately starts packing his fresh loot, feeling as excited as a kid getting ready for a school trip. However, while checking out his newly toned legs, he grabs a small snack. His old clothes are still wearable, but way too worn for his athletic new build, making him wonder where Tyrion's actual house and closet are. Shaking off the fashion crises, he checks on a bubbling cauldron in the corner. He's currently brewing a special potion made from 7 medicinal herbs, random spices, and a heavy infusion of his own magical energy. He fondly remembers his old party calling this exact mix completely toxic. It looks like a swamp smoothie, but he swears by its guaranteed healing effects. Just as he's admiring his murky green concoction, a huge crash echoes through the room. Someone is violently trying to bust down his front door, leaving him totally shocked and wondering who could be ruining his peaceful night. Quick pause. If you're enjoying the story, please drop a like and subscribe. It really helps us bring you the next parts. You done? Awesome! Let's get back to the action. Our boy throws open the door, expecting a hostile intruder, but instead looks down to find a tiny, fluffy white dog that looks suspiciously like a mini wolf. Before he can even process the cuteness, the real threat appears. Looming behind the dog is a menacing black and red monster wrapped in a sinister crimson aura, its eyes glowing red. It basically looks like it was slapped together in the dark using leftover scrap metal and pure malice. Our boy sighs heavily, complaining that today is just one disaster after another. The little white dog is trembling with fear, so our hero immediately switches into protector mode. He promises to keep the fluffy little guy safe and casts a quick angel heal, instantly mending a nasty little wound on the dog's back. Deciding to wrap this up quickly for the pup's sake, he grabs his wooden staff and faces the monster, scolding it for having the nerve to wreck his home. He activates his Crimson Zone skill and unleashes a massive slash. However, instead of taking damage, the monster's body just turns into dark smoke, effortlessly pulling itself right back together. Super annoyed, our boy realizes physical attacks are useless, and a normal fight will just drain all his stamina. But as he grabs the dog and dodges the monster's strikes, he notices something incredibly strange. The monster's attacks are surprisingly weak. He wonders if this terrifying beast is actually holding back for some reason. He takes a minor hit, but his Felito skill instantly patches him up, making him marvel at how ridiculously convenient his passive buffs are. Suddenly, a wild theory pops into his head. He wonders if this specific type of monster is allergic to healing magic. Figuring it's better to act than to stand around thinking, he points his staff at the beast and fires a fairy heal right into its face. The monster flinches violently, clearly taking huge damage from the wholesome, restorative magic. Realizing he hit the jackpot, our boy mercilessly spams fairy heal again and again, completely bombarding the creature with aggressive wellness. Deciding to end it, he dramatically announces it's over and blasts the monster with a point-blank angel heal. The creature completely vanishes into thin air. Peeking out the shattered doorway, our hero shudders, noting how incredibly creepy it is that the monster didn't even leave a trace behind. He admits he hasn't seen a creature weak to healing magic in decades, and notes he might have used a bit too much mana. Just then, a system window pops up with more good news. His full auto skill has already leveled up to 3. This upgrades his automatic magic power boost from small to medium. He stares at the screen, realizing this absurd growth rate isn't just because the body is young. He suspects Tyrion's body has some kind of hidden modifier to level up this fast. Pushing the stat analysis aside, he turns his attention back to the trembling white dog. He gives a warm smile, gently telling the little guy to relax because the danger is now officially over. He reaches out to give the puppy a well-deserved pat, but the dog aggressively snaps at his hand, forcing him to pull back in total confusion. That confusion instantly turns into pure shock when the dog opens its mouth and actually speaks. The fluffy creature angrily accuses our hero of being an imposter, demanding to know why he's in Tyrion's body and what he did to the real boy. Our hero's brain completely short-circuits, staring wide-eyed as he processes that he's being interrogated by a talking dog. The little white dog completely loses it, barking wildly and accusing our boy of being a body-snatching monster. It launches forward to bite him, seeking revenge for him taking over Tyrion's body. But thanks to his full auto-defense enhancement, the puppy's teeth cannot even pierce his skin. It just bounces off him and hits the floor, completely shocked. Just as our boy wonders if the tiny creature is badly hurt, the dog's stomach lets out a massive rumble. It turns out the poor thing isn't fading away, just aggressively hungry. Relieved that it's just an empty stomach, our boy laughs it off and serves the dog a generous bowl of his highly questionable swamp smoothie. The dog aggressively inhales the toxic-looking potion and dramatically declares the flavor absolutely divine, noting that its strength is completely overflowing. Our boy dryly points out that a normal dog probably shouldn't be eating magic soup, let alone speaking fluently, but the creature insists it is definitely not a regular dog. It formally apologizes for biting him earlier, explaining it was just shaken up and failed to realize our boy was already complete. Our boy has absolutely no idea what being complete actually means. But he pushes the cryptic nonsense aside to ask why this creature was hanging around Tyrion in the first place. The dog explains that Tyrion was a chosen child and it was assigned to strictly watch over him. Our boy points out that the dog is taking Tyrion's passing surprisingly well, but the dog claims it was likely just his fate all along, and its new duty is to guide the completed one. Moving on to more pressing matters, our boy asks about the Misty, healing allergic monster from earlier. The dog admits it has no clue what that thing was, explaining it was simply ambushed by the creature while searching for the missing tear. Our boy complains that between the weird mist monster and the demon soldiers, way too many bizarre things are happening lately. Hearing the words demon soldier, the dog's demeanor entirely shifts. It silently realizes the enemy has finally started making their move. Annoyed by the dog's sudden dramatic silence, our boy decides playtime is officially over. He picks the puppy up and politely tries to evict it from his room, explaining he healed its wounds and gave it a free meal, so it's time for it to go home. He announces he's leaving on a solo journey first thing tomorrow morning and absolutely does not need a fluffy babysitter. The dog entirely refuses to be left behind, insisting it must protect the completed one, especially with demon soldiers on the prowl. To prove it isn't just a useless mascot, the tiny white dog suddenly transforms into a massive, majestic, divine beast. Now looking down at our boy, the giant creature finally introduces itself as Glacia, a proud member of the Skyfer tribe. Our boy is completely shocked to realize this giant wolf-like creature can actually fly. Glacia smoothly offers its services as a personal airplane. Noting that humans always long for the skies, our boy decides he can definitely use a free ride. He officially accepts the deal, figuring this magical flying beast will add some excellent spice to his new life. With the alliance formed, Glacia asks for their first destination. Our boy immediately names Bellaria, the glorious city of meat. Glacia asks where they'll head after they get their fill of barbecue, and our boy suggests heading to the fairy city. Glacia finds this an incredibly drastic change of scenery, but our boy happily confesses he just really wants to buy some exclusive Lumina figures. Glacia judges him slightly for his unexpected, nerdy hobby, but our boy couldn't care less. He happily reflects that drinking cold liquids, eating juicy grilled skewers, and indulging in his favorite hobbies are exactly the kind of simple, peaceful happiness he plans to fully take back in this second life. The scene shifts to the bustling city streets. Our boy is strolling through the massive crowds with Glacia, who is currently stuck in tiny dog form. Glacia notes how lively the place is, and our boy entirely agrees. He admits the sheer volume of people is exactly why he wanted to stop by Tyrion's house first to grab some decent clothes instead of walking around looking like a budget adventurer. Glacia completely dismisses fashion as total nonsense, suggesting our boy should just grow out his fur to avoid pointless worries. Our boy dryly reminds the divine beast that he is, unfortunately, a human. They finally reach Homer's guiding flame, the legendary meat shop our boy has been dreaming about, but they immediately hit a massive roadblock. The shop is completely empty except for one deeply apologetic lady. She breaks the devastating news that they're closed for personal reasons, seeing our boy's soul practically leave his body in disappointment. She explains that a mutated dragon has moved into the local cave, completely blocking all access to the grazing fields where they keep their animals. Back outside, Glacia playfully roasts our boy for his absolutely terrible luck, noting their grand journey derailed before it even truly began. Our boy cracks his knuckles and casually announces he's just going to slay the dragon. Glacia looks at him like he's lost it, pointing out that even a regular dragon requires a full rank party to defeat. Our boy completely ignores the warning, stating that being told he can't do something just makes him want to do it more. When asked about his actual chances of making it out, our boy confidently rates them as slightly above 0. He explains that since the mutated dragon relies heavily on poison, his high-level healing magic is the perfect counter. The only real issue is his lack of offensive power, figuring he will just have to pummel the giant lizard into submission with his wooden staff again. Glacia warns that dragon scales are significantly tougher than Oracalim. He notes with suspicion that our boy speaks as if he has actual dragon hunting experience. Our boy suffers a sudden, painful flashback to the decades he spent just trying to survive dragons with his worthless former party. he quickly brushes off the memory, cryptically reminding the beast that he is a lot older than he looks. Acknowledging that charging in with a wooden stick is a terrible plan, he decides their first priority is to buy some heavy-duty weapons and armor. They walk into a local gear shop and our boy immediately asks for the dragon slaying section. The shop owner takes one look at our hero and laughs in his face, telling the little punk to go play in the park with his puppy. This completely sets Glacia off, who aggressively barks that he is definitely not a dog. Our boy frantically holds the furious divine beast back, apologizes for his pet's short fuse, and completely shatters the owner's disrespect by slamming a massive pile of gold coins onto the counter. The sight of the gold instantly cures the shop owner's arrogance. He does a complete 180, eagerly petting the beast and making up a pathetic excuse about local children teasing him, as the owner enthusiastically shows off a wildly expensive staff carved from a 100-year-old enchanted tree. Our boy internally pats himself on the back for ruthlessly grinding all those wolves to build up his funds. But then our boy's eyes lock onto a sleek, magnificent sword. The owner praises his sharp eye, explaining the blade is forged from a newly discovered rare awe with off-the-charts magical conductivity. As the owner rambles on, our boy is completely mesmerized by the shiny weapon and blindly agrees to buy it. The owner cautiously asks if a healer can even wield a sword, and our boy happily admits he has literally zero experience, since swords were always the blonde bully's specialty. But he justifies the reckless purchase with the ultimate logic. It looks incredibly cool. And he finally has the money to buy it. Glacia sighs heavily, but admits our boy earned the gold and can spend it however he wants. The scene shifts to the ominous entrance of the dragon's cave, which is flooded with a pool of toxic liquid. Our boy notes the poison is far worse than the rumors suggested. However, standing in the toxic fumes, he realizes his passive minor healing skill is constantly working, making him entirely immune to the hazardous environment. Brimming with pure excitement, he draws his shiny new sword. Glacia watches from behind, thoroughly intrigued. The divine beast thinks to himself that while he has seen tiny glimpses of our boy's absurd potential, this dragon hunt is finally going to reveal the true, terrifying extent of the completed one's power. The narration kicks off with a highly traumatic flashback to 2 years ago. Our boy is desperately healing the party's thief, while the rest of his useless teammates completely fail to defeat a dragon. Realizing they are about to become Dragon Chow, our boy frantically yells for everyone to fall back. Instead of listening, the blonde swordsman violently shoves our boy directly into the dragon's path, coldly telling him to make himself useful as live bait. Left staring straight down a dragon's throat, our boy is forced to chug healing potions until he's sick to his stomach, aggressively spamming Angel Heal and Fairy Heal just to avoid a permanent game over. Back in the present, just remembering that potion-chugging nightmare makes our boy want to gag. He turns to Glacia, asking if the divine beast is absolutely sure he wants to tag along for this incredibly dangerous raid. Glacia firmly states he refuses to repeat the same mistake he made with Tyr, cementing his ultimate loyalty. With a confident smile, our boy leads the way inside the cavern. The second they step into the dark, the air grows incredibly thick. Glacia starts wheezing, complaining it is getting entirely too hard to breathe. Our boy casually notes that the dragon's poisonous magic is intensifying, and without his auto-heal, the ambient fumes alone would be instantly incapacitating. Glacia completely loses his mind, yelling that our boy probably should have mentioned that incredibly vital fun fact earlier. Suddenly, Glacia shouts a warning. A massive green dragon, oozing toxic pink sludge, lunges from the darkness. The beast strikes, and our hero instinctively blocks with his trusty wooden staff. Unfortunately, the aggressive acid immediately starts to corrode the weapon. Realizing auto-heal alone won't save it, he channels a fairy heal spell directly through the staff. He's completely blown away by the results. The enchanted wood's magical conductivity drastically amplifies his low-level spells. He confidently declares that a toxic lizard isn't going to ruin its second chance. Our hero then whips out his incredibly expensive new sword. Glosia watches nervously, pointing out that he literally just bought it and has zero sword experience. Proving the wolf-like beast right, our hero strikes a dramatic pose, shouts his Crimson Zone skill, and tries to swing the weapon while it's still stuck in its scabbard. Obviously, nothing happens. Glosia ruthlessly roasts him, asking if he seriously doesn't know how to unsheathe the blade. Our hero awkwardly laughs it off, but playtime is over when the dragon spits a massive wave of poison breath at them. When the toxic smoke clears, our hero stands there completely unfazed, having reflexively cast a massive healing spell to cancel out the vicious breath. Glosia is stunned by his incredible casting speed. Our hero looks down and realizes the poison completely melted the scabbard away, but the blade itself is perfectly intact, hungrily absorbing his healing magic. He finally understands why the shopkeeper hyped it up so much. The dragon furiously charges again, swinging its massive scaled body. Our hero effortlessly blocks the heavy blows with the bare blade, cheerfully suggesting the overgrown lizard needs to calm down. He goes for a counterslash, but suddenly his body moves on its own. With no conscious input, his arms execute a flawless, high-level sword technique. Pushing the massive beast back, our hero stares at his own hands in pure shock before the realization hits him. Tyrion was an S-rank swordsman, and his muscle memory and will are still embedded in this body's hardware. Flashing a dangerously excited grin, our hero mentally tags in his co-pilot, cheerfully telling Tyr to let loose, since he's at the perfect age to run totally wild. The dragon, having had enough of our hero's nonsense, pivots to an easier target. It lunges at Glosia, who barely dodges its snapping jaws at the last second. The dragon bursts out of the cave with Glosia in hot pursuit. Completely insulted that a mere reptile would treat a proud member of the Skyfer tribe like a common beast. Determined to show the dragon who rules the skies now, Glosia transforms into his massive, majestic form. Our hero finds this hilarious, teasing the divine beast for being so sensitive about the dog thing. Glosia snaps back that he's a proud Skyfer, a title our hero finds fascinating, but decides to save the history lesson for later. He launches into the air, drawing his sword with the precision of a high-definition action poster. With a single brutal mid-air slash, he sends the dragon's head flying. As they land and the dragon's life force fades, our hero stares at the defeated beast in pure awe. He realizes that for the first time, he defeated a dragon with his own two hands. He feels the original Tyr's muscle memory pulsing through him and realizes the young man who was lost is still very much alive within this body. He vows to cherish this second chance, promising to never be a burden and to clear away every regret that he and Tyr left behind. His hard work pays off as his full auto skill gets a massive upgrade. His defense, attack, and magic boosts all jump from small to medium. His auto heal becomes more effective, and his reflexes are now sharp enough to catch a fly in the dark. Even his focus gets a major buff, turning him into a walking, talking cheat code. Glosia watches our hero with a soft smile, silently admitting he was wrong and vowing to never again misjudge his new partner. He resolves to help Sol fulfill Tyrion's lingering will, preparing for whatever comes next. As the sun sets, the scene shifts to a figure lurking in the shadows. It's the demon soldier who previously evicted our hero's head from his neck, now spying on him from a distance. The demon admits that, for a mere human, our hero is becoming surprisingly impressive. However, seeing Sol thrive in his new body has left the demon slightly irritated. He watches our hero with a wicked grin, clearly planning to cut our boy's new adventure very short. We head back to the tavern, where the atmosphere is basically a full-blown party. The shop owner is looking at our boy with the kind of pure, shimmering gratitude usually reserved for lottery wins and miracle cures. She keeps bowing so low her forehead is practically making friends with the floor. thanking him over and over for saving her grazing fields. Our boy tells her to relax, saying he only took down the dragon on a whim. But the lady isn't buying it. She gushes about how his heroism saved her animals and her entire business, admitting she was moments from closing shop for good because no guild adventurer was brave enough to take the job. She begs him to come back soon, promising that he hasn't even seen the full power of her kitchen yet. Our boy accepts the invitation while inhaling roast beef at a speed that would baffle modern science. He marvels at his new youthful metabolism, noting that he's eaten half the menu and still feels like he has room for a second dessert. Glacia, currently in his high-protein dog form, is also having a spiritual experience with the beef, demanding our boy keep the refills coming. Soon after, the duo is back in the sky, with our boy riding on Glacia's back like a high-altitude VIP. He announces that their next destination is Felicot, the fairy city, specifically because they're hosting a massive luminous figure event. Glacia finds the idea of traveling across the world for a magic toy show completely absurd, wondering why anyone would pay to watch impractical magic tricks. Our boy just laughs, promising the divine beast that once he sees the sparkle, he'll be a total convert. The peaceful flight is suddenly interrupted when a stray arrow whistles past our boy's head, nearly giving him a very permanent new piercing. They look down and spot an elf girl who looks like she's about 2 seconds away from her nervous breakdown. She starts bowing and apologizing profusely, practically vibrating with guilt. Our boy tells her to relax, but the girl is still spiraling, admitting that if he hadn't dodged so quickly, she would have accidentally canceled someone's subscription to Life right after registering as an adventurer. Our boy takes one look at the bow in her trembling, bruised hands and realizes she's pushing herself way too hard. He sees a reflection of his old, desperate self in her eyes and decides to intervene. He uses a fairy heal to patch up her battered arms, causing the girl to stare in absolute shock as her pain vanishes. He gives her a gentle reality check, explaining that pushing forward on pure willpower alone is a great way to make your mind and body develop some very permanent cracks. He points out that practicing while exhausted is the fastest way to get zero results, and suggests she take a breather. Since they are both heading toward the city anyway, he offers to walk with her for a bit. She gratefully accepts, looking at him like he's a one-man support group. However, our boy's entire world shatters when he hears the news that the Luminina figure event has been officially canceled. He stands there completely paralyzed, looking like a Windows update that just got stuck at 99% while his soul prepares for a very long, very sad vacation. Lucia confirms the devastating news, and our boy looks like he just watched his favorite cake fall face first onto the floor. Glacia, currently disguised as a tiny dog, notes that between the dragon mess in the last town and this cancellation, our boy's luck is officially in the gutter. Lucia is a bit confused that a puppy would even care about a magic toy show, but she's more surprised to learn our boy is a hardcore fan of luminous figures. He explains that the delicate magic and intricate movements are a legitimate art form, but more importantly, they are his personal light at the end of a very long tunnel. He admits that many people quit being adventurers because they can't master combat magic. And as a healer who could never master an attack spell, watching those performers gives him the courage to keep going. Lucia gives him a look like she's trying to solve a difficult math problem, noting that he says things that are way too mature for his youthful face. She tells him there is no need to rush his life, playfully throwing his own advice back at him. Our boy realizes she has a point, but he's still curious about why the main performer, Maris, is currently out of commission. Lucia explains that Maris has been hit with a rare disease that ignores standard medicine, and the only cure requires a liver from a mutated dragon. Our boy finally connects the dots, realizing the elf girl has been practicing archery until her fingers were raw just to save her best friend. Lucia admits it is a hopeless quest, but she refuses to give up on the only person who truly matters to her. Our boy lets out a heavy sigh, reaches into his bag, and pulls out a mutated dragon's liver like he's grabbing a spare battery from a junk drawer. Lucia's brain basically short-circuits as she stares at the legendary item. He asks if this is the magic ingredient needed to save the day. She immediately drags him to the infirmary. They find Maris looking like she's halfway to the great beyond. With a celebrity doctor named Eleonora standing by her bed, Lucia presents the liver, and while the doctor calls it a miracle, she gives our boy a look that feels like a cold needle to the spine. The moment the doctor moves, our boy's full auto skill starts screaming in his head. Even though there isn't a monster in sight, his focus enhancement triggers, making the doctor's gestures look like a slow-motion replay of a bad decision. He gets a massive case of the creeps as she prepares the so-called medicine. Lucia tries to talk the doctor up, explaining that she's a local hero who is so good with patients that people call her a magic user for making even the most awful-tasting remedies disappear. The doctor returns with a suspicious liquid, claiming one drink will fix everything. Our boy, who is currently getting a massive warning from his skills, asks for the ingredients just for educational purposes. The doctor mentions the liver and some rare plants, but claims the rest is a professional secret. Just as she tries to pour the brew down the sick girl's throat, our boy steps in and physically blocks her. He looks her straight in the eye and announces that he knows exactly what she's holding. It isn't a cure. It's a hide poison designed to wipe out a person's internal organs. As the accusation hits the air, the doctor's face twists into a wicked grin that proves she is definitely not interested in anyone's health. Thanks for sticking around until the end. If you enjoyed this recap, drop a like and let me know your favorite moment in the comments. I'll see you in the next video for more madness. Peace.